There it is. Good evening and welcome to the Joint Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners meeting of March the 7th, 2023. I am Briggs Simmons, the Planning and Zoning Chair. Prior to this meeting, announcements were posted and notices were sent to all board members, commissioners, staff, interested parties, and applicants to participate in this meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, Board Chair, to introduce and confirm the presence of the Commissioners. Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons, and good evening to the Board of Commissioners and to our citizens, and welcome to our joint BOC and P&Z meeting. I will start to my right, and introduce Commissioner Kelly Robinson of District 2.
Present.
And to his right is District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
And to Mark's right is Commissioner Henry Mitchell III.
Present.
All right, and myself, Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, present. We do have an established quorum, Board. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Also present are members of the Planning and Zoning Board. If you'd please confirm your presence when I call your name. Our Vice Chairman, Rob Thomas.
Present.
Brandon Penniman.
Present.
Teresa Knowles.
Present.
Frank Payne.
Present.
Kirk Nicholson.
Present.
And Ori Curry, our other member, has been excused tonight. We do have a quorum, Madam Chairman. Allison Duncan, our Planning and Zoning Manager, would you now introduce the county staff and Planning and Zoning staff present in the meeting, please?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have with us Assistant County Administrator Tiffany Stewart-Stanley, County Attorney Michael Coleman, Director of Development Services James Worthington, Deputy Director of Transportation Suleiman Rana, Senior Zoning Administrator Phil Schaefer, Senior Planner Jaquel Johnson, Planning and Zoning Board Clerk Johanna Womack, and Planning and Zoning Board Secretary Kim Waters. And I would like to thank our colleagues in communications and the Sheriff's Department for being here with us this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. There's a reversionary clause that applies to each rezoning, and that is the applicant, the agent, or the property owner has 24 months to vest the zoning change after the Board of Commissioners have granted an approval. As far as tonight's procedure go, the Planning and Zoning Board Chairman, myself, will conduct a public hearing on each matter. Planning and Zoning Board staff will introduce each application, followed by a full presentation on the application. The applicant or the applicant's representative and members of the public will have 15 minutes to present their information in favor of the application. Each person would have 2 minutes to make their presentation. Once the 15 minutes has expired, we will close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Those folks would also have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes to speak in opposition of an application. Once the opposition completes their input or the 15 minutes has expired, the public hearing will be officially closed. At this point, the staff will clarify any points of the zoning case that the board needs. If the staff is unable to clarify the points, then the applicant or the applicant's representative will be asked for points of clarification. And remember, this is not a time for the applicant to represent their case. Planning and Zoning Board will then entertain a motion. Our first agenda item tonight will be the approval of the minutes of the February 7th Planning and Zoning Board of Commissioners meeting. Planning and Zoning Board, you have seen those minutes. Do you have any changes or recommendations concerning those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 regular joint Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners meeting?
This is Frank Payne. I make a motion to approve the minutes for February the 7th, 2023.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of the February 7th, 2023 board meeting, please raise your right hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, I will throw the minutes of the February 7th Board of Commissioners Planning and Zoning Board over to you with a unanimous approval.
All right, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the February 7th, 2023 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, we have a 4-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries, and there is no opposition. So the motion carries for approval of the February 7th, 2023 meeting minutes. And I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Johnson, would you present our next agenda item, please?
Yes, and good evening, Board of Commissioners, as well as P&Z Board. Our first case today is a special use permit for a Mr. Andre Strickland. Mr. Strickland is requesting a special use permit to allow a short-term rental for his home located at 6056 North Bear Drive. Mr. Strickland currently rents out to traveling nurses and families displaced because of disasters. However, those are over 30 days, so they do not qualify as a short-term rental. Before you, I have the zoning map. Mr. Strickland property is the one highlighted in red, and as you can see, it is zoned residential low density as well as the surrounding properties. Before you, I have an aerial image of the property highlighted in blue. And this is a street view from North Bear Drive of his current property. As you can see, it does meet the zoning criteria, and staff is recommending approval for the special use permit of the S2023-14 with the following findings. The use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code, and the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. Staff will now have any will answer any questions, and the applicant is not here. Applicant is here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. We'll now open the public hearing in favor of this application. Or the applicant or anyone else wishing to speak in favor, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Strickland, and I'm here to represent Andre Strickland. And mainly the property is listed under Airbnb, but we do rent to a lot of insurance companies for dislocated families who've been dislocated. And then we also, have like tech people that come in and stay for 30 or more days. But we do need the approval just in case we do have someone who comes for short-term stay, which just to, verify that there's no partings or anything like that going on. So, yeah, so if you can go ahead and approve, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one moving, we'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please step to the podium. Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the presentation. Do you have any questions of the applicant's representative or of Mr. Johnson?
Got a quick question, point of order. Did we get her address on record, her name and address on record?
Did she? Yes.
I don't think so.
Would you step up and, did you give us your name and address? I know you gave us your name.
Yes, I did not give the address. I do apologize. It's 6056 North Bear Drive.
Awesome, thank you.
The address of the property.
Of the property.
Okay.
All right, so.
Thank you very much. If you just stand by in case there's
Sure.
another question, board.
Yeah, so my first question is, do you currently reside at this residence?
No,
Or
sir.
is it just one of your rental properties?
Just a rental property.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Okay, that was it for me. Thanks.
All right, I have a question. So, you're saying, so typically, it's more than 30 days is what you've been doing in the past?
Yes, sir.
But just in case if you have some shorter-term people that need your services, need a place. Can you talk about that a little bit? Just what would that be, and how do you meet these people?
The short-term stay is listed on Airbnb's website, and so any families that may come and stay just for the weekend,
Okay.
that would be what is considered the short-term stay, which, just like I just mentioned, we do not allow, no parties are allowed, and we do have like a neighborhood who watches out for us, neighbors, and they do anything that's suspicious, any activity, they do notify us.
Are you in an HOA in your
No,
neighborhood?
no HOA.
No HOA, okay. You mentioned long-term for people that just have been displaced for, disasters or what have you.
Yes.
Do you have a fence around your property?
there is a fence
There is a
in the
fence
back.
then?
Mhm. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So you allow pets also? Just curious.
We do not, unless it's going to be a certain situation where someone needs to be long-term, then we will allow pets, but we have to talk about that, but we do not normally allow pets. But there have been, certain circumstances where we have allowed pets.
And how long have you been operating this on a long-term
Over
basis?
2 years.
2 years now? Okay. And your neighbors have any issue with it?
No,
I said, no, someone came, so,
no.
okay, well, that's good to know. That's the only question I have.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning Board? Seeing none, Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you folks may have.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, we have any questions for the applicant or either our staff? No questions? I yield back to you.
No questions. Thank you very much. You can take your seat. Thank you. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion. Do I have a motion on S 2023-14?
Mr. Brandon Penniman, I make a motion to approve application 2023-14, a request for a special use permit in RLD zoning district for a short-term rental on 6056 North Bear Drive.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, I second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call on the vote. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board has a unanimous recommendation for approval of S 2023-14.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, thank you so much. Chairman Simmons, Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion? And I don't know if you want to take it for District 3.
Motion to approve S 2023-14 as recommended by Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you're in favor. Okay, we have a full unanimous vote and the motion carried with no opposition. So I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Good luck going forward with this. Best of luck to you. Okay, Mr. Schaefer, our next agenda item, please.
Our next agenda item is a request for two applications. First, it's Z 2023-16, rezoning from RLD to RA, and then S 2023-17, special use permit to have farm animals raised on the property. The request is to rezone from RLD to RA and a special use permit for sustainable farm and agricultural uses located at 3567 Groover Lake Road, Lithia Springs 30122. The property is 5.84 acres. Application signed by Mr. David Pennick. It's in District 1. Subject property is on the north side of Groover's Lake Road. It's developed with a single-family residence. There's a storage building and a garage. The applicants propose to rezone the property to allow the keeping of agricultural animals for personal use. As described originally, animals would include approximately 20 chickens, ducks, geese, turkey, along with 2 pigs, 2 cows, and of course, there might be periodic calving for the hoofed animals as well. The request does represent a downzoning in that the applicant is seeking a much less intensive zone district than the RLD. The property, however, is partially surrounded by a developed subdivision to the north, and so our caveat would be the operation will be subject to Section 319 of the code governing how animals across the districts are treated. So we need to have some care exercised in locating the animals, whether they're being penned or fed or maintained in certain areas of the property. Here's a zoning map of the property to show that there is RLD surrounding it. There's a smidge of light industrial to the south of the road. That's actually currently used for a small manufacturing outfit for a contractor's yard, but across the street in north and east and west are all residential low density. Here's an aerial of the vicinity to show you the subdivision that's to the north and to the south. And then there's a survey to the left, and then the close-in of the site plan for the property is on the right. The drawing here is my effort to show what 150 feet from residential development would look like in terms of what the Section 319 code buffers require, so that if you were to pen an animal or you were to house an animal or allow an animal to be fed in areas, then you would have to be 150 feet in from the residences around them. And so you can see there is quite a bit of room that allows for the activity to be conducted on the property. Where the clearing area is, there's buildings, and it would be allowed in those areas easily. Here's a front view of the property showing the property is fenced. Here's the entrance to the property. As staff reviewed the zoning criteria, it does meet all of the zoning criteria for the request to rezone from RLD to RA. And staff reviewed the special use analysis, and it does meet the criteria for special use permit being approved as well. Staff's recommending approval of the rezoning with findings, 3 findings. A, that the rezoning is consistent with the future land use plan and the intent, purpose, and spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. B, the rezoning will not negatively impact surrounding properties. C, the granting of the rezoning will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, and does represent best planning practices. As far as the recommendation for the special use, we do have similar findings, that the use A will not substantially modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. B, the use will not negatively impact the surrounding properties. And C, granting the special use will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. I do throw in one condition and request that it be approved as, number 1, the numbers and types of animals being raised shall not be penned or housed except in compliance with the setback requirements permitted under the RA zone district as stipulated in Section 319. And that concludes my presentation, Commissioner. So back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. At this point in time, I will open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, will have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you will have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is David Pennick. I live at 3567 Groovers Lake Road. And the only thing I have to add is that my plan is strictly to raise animals for food, eggs and meat, and as well to train my boys in proper horticulture and animal training.
Very good.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. Seeing no one moving, we'll close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition, please approach the podium. You also would have 2 minutes per person for an allocated time of 15 minutes. Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and zoning staff, do you have any questions of the applicant or of Mr. Schaefer? I have a question of the applicant.
Yes, sir.
Could you kind of tell me how you're going to keep these cows and pigs on this property? I don't see any area for pasture land.
A lot of it is hidden by the trees, but there is about an acre and a half of fenced-in pasture.
Okay.
Is where we plan on doing that. We'll double check to make sure that that is within the compliance with the stipulation before we do that. We have to do some work to make sure everything's ready, water, that kind of stuff, before we get any animals anyways. Currently there is a structure within that pen that's just outside that somewhat diagonal dotted line where we're currently keeping a few ducks and chickens. And then with pigs, when we get to there, they'll have a separate enclosure, electric fencing, since they like to dig out of areas. We'll keep them enclosed even tighter than that. And then because of so many predators in the area, we'll be keeping all our birds in what's called chicken tractors. They're kind of like mobile coops that can be moved around so that they're fertilizing the land and not destroying the land at the same time.
Okay. Now, you heard Mr. Schaefer, one of the conditions was that you would comply with the Unified Development Code, Section 319. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Board, do you have any questions?
I was going to ask Mr. Pinnock, have you spoken to your neighbors?
As many of them as I could talk to, and through that I also found out that they were talking to other neighbors as well. Everyone's very excited about it, actually.
Okay.
Several of them actually said it's about time.
Okay, well, good, thank you. That's all I wanted to ask.
I have a quick question. Are you going to provide any type of tours or visits
No,
for anyone
no,
else?
sir. This is
Strictly just for your family?
Just for the family.
Okay, yeah. When I visited, I did see the fence, so you had to do some more fencing, obviously.
Yes, sir.
For the
Yeah.
birds and things like that.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I just have one question. Mr. Pennant, have you done this before?
This will be my first time with larger animals. I've been raising birds for several years. Previously in Virginia, where I moved here from, I had 2 acres there, and I kept a little over 20 birds there, chickens and ducks, and occasionally turkeys.
How long have you been at the property that you?
It'll be a year in June.
Okay. Now, will you have roosters?
We have one currently. It's one of 4 in the neighborhood.
Are they loud?
They're not as loud as the industrial area across the street. The trucks usually wake up the roosters.
So there's no sound problem?
No,
Noise?
no complaints, and like I said, it's one of 4 in the neighborhood, so.
Okay.
Any other questions, board? One other thing, you don't plan on selling eggs or chickens or the meat or anything to the public, do you?
No, sir. I'm allergic to chicken eggs, that's why we do the ducks, because I can have duck eggs, so it's very important for us to have the eggs, so we don't plan on selling those at all. And we'd like to raise them for meat for ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. Having no more questions from Planning and Zoning Board, Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to Board of Commissioners for any questions you folks may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions for our applicant or the staff? And Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Schaefer, this might be for you. So that I'm clear, is an electric fence then have anything to do with the permanent fixing structure, and what's the distance that because I think there's a distance clause in here when you're fencing them in, fencing in cattle and all that kind of good stuff.
So that's the buffer that 319 controls. So it's 150 feet for
150.
regular animals.
So does that line up with this?
We have to check, because he hasn't put in all of the fencing yet.
Right.
So we still have to make sure that it complies.
Oh, but he mentioned some electric fences, so that hadn't been, got you. So he'll have to come through.
Right.
Planning and zoning to.
Yeah, we'll have to go do I'm pretty sure I'll have to go site, and we'll have to get a wheel out and just make sure it's in far enough from the property line.
Okay, got you. Okay, and my last question is the condition number 1. Can you reiterate on that condition number 1? I think I saw it there, but I didn't get a chance to read the.
So that's really just plain old restating the law. It's
Okay.
Section 319's segment that describes precisely what is required. Let me go down to the actual conditions. So The numbers and types of animals being raised shall not be penned or housed except in compliance with the setback requirements permitted under the RA zoning within Section 319.
Right, and that's the 150,
And that's the
100.
one, yeah.
Got it, okay. And I guess that'll be you guys policing once he go through that whole process.
Correct.
And I guess I'll just ask the applicant, you're okay with that condition?
Yes, sir.
You are, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield at this point.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you so much. Any other questions, board? If not, I yield back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you've heard the discussion. Do I have a motion on the zoning, Z 2023-16?
Chairman Simmons, Rob Thomas, I make a motion to approve application Z 2023-16, a request for rezoning from RLD, residential low density, to RA, residential agricultural.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Brandon Penniman, second.
I have a motion and a second. Planning and Zoning Board, do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving Z 2023-16 as read into the record by Mr. Schaefer with conditions, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Madam Chairman, Z 2023-16 comes to you with a unanimous recommendation from Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers.
Condition on that. There was no condition.
No condition. Okay, thank you. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve item Z 2023-16 with the said conditions and findings as stated, and that's in full approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you're in favor. Okay, we have a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries and with 0 opposition. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Now that we have taken care of the zoning matter, Planning and Zoning Board, do I have a motion on S 2023-17, the special use permit with the condition that was read in by Mr. Schaefer?
It's Brandon Penniman. I make a motion to approve application S 2023-17 with the condition read in.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Frank Payne, I second.
Do I have a motion and a second? Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on S 2023-17. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, S 2023-17 comes to the Board of Commissioners with a unanimous approval with the one condition that was read into the record.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers regarding the special use permit. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve item S 2023-17 with the said conditions as stated by Planning and Zoning for approval.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you're in favor. Okay, we have a 4-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries, and we have zero opposition. And I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. That completes our agenda tonight, but I believe Ms. Duncan, our Planning and Zoning Administrator, has a couple of announcements to make.
Yes, sir. Thank you. 2 brief announcements. The first one is I just want to remind everyone that we have our Planning and Zoning Board spring training. That will be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We will be meeting with the Development Review Committee. We often say to this group, that's a detail that we'll leave to DRC. Well, we thought it might be beneficial to have you actually meet DRC and have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what they do. So just as a reminder, everybody is welcome to join us downstairs in the large conference room in the Development Services Suite tomorrow at 9 a.m. And then my second announcement, you should have a card in front of you. These are the cards that we're going to start sharing with the community. This is our Comprehensive Plan Update Community Roadshow. So for our last big public engagement push, we're going to take this on the road. You can see on the screens a series of dates and opportunities that we have where we will be going out into the community. We have over 20 in-person dates scheduled between today and the end of March. We also have a number of pop-up opportunities at libraries, senior centers, and parks for folks to get the word out. This is all going to be on our website. The card in front of you, if you go to this website or you click on this QR code, it will take you to a survey where you can walk through the roadshow slides so you can see all of the land use concepts that we're presenting out to the community to get their feedback. And then there's an opportunity to give us feedback through the survey. We will have boards and posters that we will have set up both in the Development Services Suite as well as at the libraries, parks, and senior centers, and any of the places where we go in person. We'll have information that we can share and a presentation we can share. And then finally, I just want to reiterate, folks can go to our website. All of this information is on our website. There's a deep dive on our blog that kind of gets into the details of how we develop the character areas, the future land use map amendments, the parks and green space updates. And so if you could just kind of share this information out through your networks. We're going to be working with our communications staff to get it out to the newspaper, to get it on the Facebook, use the e-newsletter and all of that information. But please, if you have anybody with questions about this, send them to the website, kind of give them this information so they can take the survey, or send them to the Planning and Zoning Office so that we can have those conversations further. And that's all that I wanted to share with you, unless you have any other questions about this process this evening. So, thank you.
Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any questions? Hearing none, I will adjourn the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Madam Chairman, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay. Being none, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.